Okay, what we're going to do here is try to establish a little property of logarithms that gets used very, very often. And then we'll try to use that property to estimate the logarithm of something a little bit better than we've done when the number isn't nice. Meanwhile, here's the things, one of the properties that we need says this, says if I want log base A of B, that's just, I want to write something about that. Now, how does this work, right? Logarithm base A says, wait a minute, you have to go write B as A to some power. So over here, I'm going to write B as A to some power. We know that's possible all the time. So instead of B, I can write A to the X. So I'm going to write this, log A, this is going to be A to the X. And logarithm says, hey, after you write down B as A to a power, then I'm just going to give you the power. So we have two sides of the same statement here. I have the statement that log base A of B is X is exactly the same thing as saying A to the X equals B. They mean, this statement here means exactly the same statement as this here. This is just called the logarithmic version. This is called the exponential version. And to be honest, ever since I was about, I don't know, 13, I just said to myself, every time I want to turn the logarithm side into the exponential side, I always go A to the X equals B. It's a little song I sing every time I do it. It's pretty sad, but I do. But the idea here is, if I see log base A of B equals X, I can write this over here instead, and it actually can help me out. I want to give an example of that helping me out. Now, an earlier part of today's lesson, we were asked to estimate something like log base 10 of 50. Now we know that 10 to the first is 10, so that's too small. 10 to the second is 100, that's too big. So I know the answer should be 1 point something, but that's not a real good estimate, and I would like to do a little bit better if I can. So this is what we do. We tell ourselves, I don't know what log base 10 of 50 is, so we set it equal to X. Now why would I do that? Because now I have an equation, and we have the logarithmic form of what we just wrote down. So I'm going to do my little song. I'm going to go 10 to the X equals 50. Now we don't have a nice algebraic way of solving that, but in the last chapter we found graphical ways of solving that. So what I'm going to do is go to Desmos, and I'm going to graph the left-hand side. It's an exponential function. I'm going to graph the right-hand side. It's an exponential function. I'm going to see where they cross and see what kind of answer it gives me. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to Desmos. So if you can bear with me just a little, let's go over to Desmos. You can see that I typed in y equals 10 to the x over here. You see I can write y equals 50 over here. I don't see anything on the graph anywhere because y equals 50 is way too stinking high. So what I'm going to do is zoom out, at least until I can see some graph. Okay, you can finally see y equals 50 here. I'm going to go to the wrench just so I can see something. It's not that necessary. How about if we go to the, as far left as like -2, well, -2, and we go as far right as 2. Let's see here, does that give us anything we can look at here? How about we don't do that? I just wanted to go press the wrench. There we go. Now I'm going to move this graph over here a little bit. And what we want to do is just find the place where they intersect. Now I think the way Desmos works is that if you click on one of the graphs, important points show up. So for example, it made a little gray dot right here, and if I go over and just click on the little gray dot, I can see 1.69950. Well, I'm really interested in the 1.699. So what I'm going to do, just so I have this for later, is I'm going to come over here like this, and I'm going to type in 1.69950, so it makes a permanent dot there for me, yay. I'll type save so it actually saves it, yay. But what do we know? We know that 10 to the 1.699 is basically really, really close to 50. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my little whiteboard so I can draw a conclusion. Drawing a conclusion right over here, right? We saw that x, where do I want to put this? X equals 1.699 was a very, very good estimate. In fact, it's another one we just write down as a conclusion way down here. So, or 3 dots, or however you want to put this, the log base 10 of 50 isn't just 1 point dot 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 something. It's 1.699 dot 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 something. But at least we have 3 decimal places, and all we had to do is remember to put a little x over here when I wanted it, to write it in its exponential form, then graph like we did before and let Desmos find the intersection point for us. That's the end of this lesson.